my drivers world championship predictions. P20, Bottas. I don't think Cadillac has much pace to compete with the rest of the field. They were faster than Aston Martin, but I feel like Aston might fix their issues faster than Caddy could because of the experience they have within the team. Hopefully Caddy starts getting a few points, but I have to go with Bottas last. P22. P21, Sergio Perez. Maybe he'll get some points. Maybe Bottas can too. Again, it's just a team. It's a new team. They're probably not expecting many points, especially after testing. They were 4 seconds off the pace, only faster than Aston Martin, but a ways behind the next best team, which is Williams. So unless something major happens during every race, it'll be hard to see them fighting for points. P20, Lance Stroll. Listen, I like Stroll. I'm not a hater. He's a pretty good driver. It's just the car seems to have issues, at least at the start of the season. It won't look good at all. But like I said before, they have Honda, who were the champions last time around. I'm sure they can fix it quicker than Cadillac could. So yeah, Lance Stroll. P19, Fernando Alonso. It's just hard to put him P19, but I'm just going off the times we've seen in practice, which ultimately means nothing, but it's all I know for now, and I can't really make the predictions after a few races because that's kind of unfair. So I have to put the Astons P19 and 20, even though they were slower than Cadillac at the practice. I feel like they could fix it faster, maybe not fast enough to catch up to the rest of the crew by the end of the season. P18, Liam Lawson. Again, I like Liam Lawson. I think he's overhated. He's a pretty cool driver, but the Racing Bulls doesn't look as fast as the Haas or Audi or Alpine. They look faster than the Williams, but I'm sure Albon and Sainz are safer drivers, I guess. They're more experienced drivers who can make something of it, hopefully, which puts Lawson at 17th, which puts Lawson at 18th. 17, Carlos Sainz. Well, it's a toss-up between Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. Obviously, Sainz has his moments, his podiums, but we're forgetting that Albon finished the season ahead last season, despite not having any podiums. Albon seems to be more consistent at the start of the year, just like Piastri, and Sainz seems to prefer the races towards the end of the year. You know what, I'm changing my answer. Albon P17. Albon seems to like the races at the start of the year, and Sainz seems to prefer the races at the end of the year. And all I can say is at the start of the year, Williams doesn't look like they could have fighting pace, not for points just yet, but it could change towards the end of the year, where, Carlos Sainz prefers those tracks better, especially with the Madrid ring coming up. He's like the ambassador for it, so hopefully he gets some points there. But the field is so split, it's hard to say, especially between the DC drivers. The only thing I have going for me now is the fact that Williams aren't fast, and the fact that they will get faster, so it kind of helps Sainz a little bit. G17, Arvid Lindblad. I feel like he might beat Lawson. It's a new regulation for everyone, so it's a great place to start for him. He got P13 in the testing. Not that it means much, but I'm sure Racing Bulls has the pace. Ultimately, his competition seems to be against the Williams, his teammate, and maybe Hadjar. And I don't think he'll beat the Williams or Hadjar. So I have to put him P17. P16, Alex Albon. Unfortunate, I like him a lot. Alex Albon seems to like the races at the start of the year compared to the ones at the end. And for that, I have to say Williams does not have a fighting car, not for the points, at least at the start of the year. P16, Carlos Sainz seems to have the pace. On the other hand, P15, Carlos Sainz seems to have the pace towards the end of the year. He likes the tracks towards the end of the year, and obviously Williams will improve as the year goes on, which gives him the upper hand compared to Alex Albon, which is why he's P15. P14, Esteban Ocon. I quite like Ocon, and I think the Haas has fighting pace, but the people ahead of him seem to also have the pace for points, maybe a bit more consistency as well. I do hope Haas finishes P14. Nico Hülkenberg. See, I wouldn't expect myself to put Hülkenberg in P14, but he seems to have the pace with Audi, at least to fight for the points at the bottom. But it's a new power unit and it's a new team. I'm sure they'll have technical issues that will cause them some harm. Unfortunately, puts Hülkenberg at P14. P13, Franco Colapinto. I don't think he's as fast as Gasly. Gasly shows that the Alpine, alongside the Haas, are the teams in contention for the last few points available after the top 4 teams. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any of Colapinto's consistency since he joined Alpine. P12, Esteban Ocon. I'm sure Haas will get points. They look very strong. Esteban Ocon, really good driver, but there's a lot of consistency ahead of him, so it's hard to say that he'll get anything higher, but he's looking strong for now. P11, Bortoleto. Like I said, Audi looks like they will be having issues. Bortoleto has been a more consistent scorer for state last year compared to Hülkenberg, and I feel like he might beat his teammate this year. So let's see what happens. P10, Isaac Hadjar. I mentioned earlier he's 1 second slower than Verstappen over the practice sessions. it's looking like P10 is a bit generous compared to what we've seen in the practice sessions. Hopefully he gets something like P8 at least, but based on what we can see right now, he is struggling with the car, and P10 seems fair. P9, Oliver Behrman. He was the 9th fastest in testing. As consistent. Behrman, consistent. So it's looking like a pretty good pairing to secure small points here and there. Pierre Gasly, I feel like he'll be the standout from the midfield. P8, he's obviously an amazing driver, and he's got essentially the fastest car from the midfield. So if anyone's going to get consistent points from the midfield, I would say it has to be Gasly. P7, Lando Norris. I feel like he has a fall off overdue. The McLaren's not looking as strong as the Ferrari or the Merc or Verstappen. So based on that, the top 7 are really mixed up. I don't want to put Hamilton 7th. Doesn't look like he's got the greatest pace. P7, I'd say Lando Norris, the champion of last year. Looking at the starts that Ferrari seem to have, the sandbagging that Red Bull seem to be doing for the starts, and the overall pace that people talk about in the Mercedes, McLaren look like the 4th strongest team, and I feel like Piastri at P6 will step his game up for this season because he's been unreal with his improvement game. And yeah, at least at the start of the season, I can't see McLaren's doing better than the other teams because everyone's hiding everything, and I really don't know, and it's really hard to tell. P5, Lewis Hamilton. I feel like he'll get a few wins, maybe even Silverstone, unless George takes that. But at the moment, everyone at the top seems plenty fast. So unfortunately, Hamilton, with the consistency he showed last year, has to be P5. P4, Kimi Antonelli. He seems to be in the best car this year. I don't know how fast it is, but it is fast. So he'll probably crack his first win this year as well. But apart from that, I'm hoping, kind of predicting, it's going to be a 3-way race between Leclerc, Verstappen, and Russell for the championship. So Antonelli gets P4. P3, Charles Leclerc. Listen, the Ferrari looks great, but is it greater than Max Verstappen in a pretty reliable and pretty fast-looking Red Bull? Is it greater than George Russell in supposedly the fastest car we'll ever see? I don't know, people just keep exaggerating how fast the Mercedes can be, and I'm kind of falling for it. I think I'll look like an idiot if I don't put George Russell P1. I'm hoping it's a 3-way battle, but if anything, it might be a 2-way battle for P2 if the Mercedes is that great, and Red Bull seem to have the car, and they definitely have the driver to put Charles in P3, which puts obviously Max at P2, only because I'm buying into the Mercedes hype for the first time. I'm sure Red Bull will be pretty reliable, pretty fast, but obviously the Mercedes, powering 4 teams will have a lot more testing per weekend done, which helps them understand it a bit better. Also, they've been making engines for a longer time, and Ford is completely new to the scene, going with the George Russell hype, which puts George Russell P1. Lance Stroll said something about George Russell winning Melbourne by 30 seconds. I hope not. But that, before that, it was pretty close in my head to say George, Max, and Charles will fight for it. Even without the hype, Mercedes seem to have everything. They have the driver, they have the team, and they seem to have the car. Maybe not the most reliable in testing, but, it's Mercedes. They're usually reliable, apart from maybe the mid-stage of last season. It'd be pretty cool to see a first-time winner again. George Russell, Charles Leclerc, I wouldn't mind. Max Verstappen will be in the fight too, so it's going to be fun. Yeah, that's it. See ya.